Hi there, it's really nice that you're watching. I'm Chantal Inen, founder of the Punchy Pack. And in the last 8 months, we've been working with 6 teams of young professionals to build an impact case in the partnership Verkiezing. And you're about to watch the results. I present to you Team Grant Thornton.
So, welcome, Grant Thornton, all of you. Let's start with you, Tom. Tell me, what is the big idea that you have all been developing as a team?
The big idea is to develop a service for businesses to close the gender pay gap called Paycheck'ed. Because we have a 12% pay gap in the Netherlands, meaning that women earn 12% less per hour than men. And this problem has no winners, because what we see is that women earn less, of course, but companies with a bigger pay gap, they also lose out on talent, because what would you do if you find out that your male colleague earns more than you for the same work? You would go out, yeah.
Okay, but tell me specifically about Paycheck'ed then.
Specifically,
what does it do?
Paycheck'ed is a service consisting of 3 parts. And what we do first, we have to analyze the pay gap. We have to check for a company whether they have a pay gap or not. And then once we have checked this and also located it, we can do part 2, which means to implement best practices from policy related to salary, related to pregnancy leave, in order to reduce this pay gap and give equal opportunities to both men and women. Mm-hmm. And then third is to give training, because we see that a pay gap is a very complex problem. We know that you cannot just implement policy. You have to also really change company culture.
It doesn't sound so complicated though. I mean, you just pay people more, from my point of view.
Yeah, you just pay people more, but why? The question is, why are you paying people less in the first place? And to really find that out, that is because we have certain biases. That is because women for the same work just don't get the same promotion. So you can, of course, now pay women more, and then in 5 years, again, we have the same problem because we didn't address the root cause.
Okay. All right. So definitely an urgent problem, an important one to deal with. How did you come up with the idea?
Well, we kickstarted actually last November when it was Equal Pay Day. Mm-hmm. And the European Commission just introduced this day to get awareness for the problem. And the day stands actually for that women don't get paid anymore until the end of the year, in compared with men. So it felt really unfair to us, but we wondered actually, is this a real problem in the Netherlands as well? Mm-hmm. And as it seems, yes, this is also a major problem here. So it really impacts on these women, because you get less you get financial independence in the end. Mm-hmm. So yeah, with all the developments happening in the world, also politically, we wanted to build a business case that help women to create a fair playing field, actually, so they can maximize their potential and also to contribute equally to society.
Yeah. Clear. And for you, Daphne and Ingrid, on a personal level, what has it meant to you to be involved in a project like with this level of urgency, which is extremely personal, as 2 independent, strong women?
Definitely. So we did a lot of desk research, field research. So I think we spoke with more than 50 people with regard to our social problem. And the one example that stood out the most for me was the one where in a legal firm, there was an example of a woman and a man, and they worked for the same period of years. They had the same age, they had the same study, and then they got the promotion to the same kind of level. And then the man was like, great, now we earn X amount of money. And the woman was like, wait a minute, I earn 400 euros per month less than you. So that's actually when you, every month in your pension, in your vacation, in every aspect, it counts through, and through the years, if it accumulates, it's a really large sum of money. So, and the most that stood out to me was that the man was like, we are equal. But when it got to payment, it wasn't equal. Mm. So even the man thought, yeah, but we're equal.
And what does a finding like that do for you personally? Like, how do you feel when you read something like that or you speak to someone who shares a story like that?
It's of course terrible. And yeah, you want to do something about it. So that's why it's great that we joined the Partnership Academy, so we can do something about it and actually not only hear it and complain about it, but tackle the problem.
Yeah. And in terms of, it sounds socially, very important to do this, but there is, you alluded to it as well, Tom, there is a business case for this as well, right?
Indeed.
Can you just flesh that out?
Basically, what we're trying to do is first analyze the problem within companies, and we will start with our own company, with a pilot, to see what is the pay gap that we have, what are we talking about, and then we try to solve that pay gap by, a ton of different things, because of course you cannot tackle it with only one solution, but you have to do different things. Yeah.
But that's also what we saw with the
policies.
biases, because we did a lot of desk research as well. So what we saw is that there are less female in role models, so there's less at the top at the female level. So when you look at it this way, it's like when I start in my 20s and I look to the people who are 50, that gap, then we see, okay, we have a lack of female role models. What do I want to achieve? Is it possible for me to achieve this? And then when you see it, it's like, no, it's not, because in somewhere along the road, female talents get lost.
Yes, and I think that's also where the business case comes in. Because as a company, you simply lose very talented people, mostly women, because they don't get paid the same as their male colleagues. So they go out looking for a different company, or they might even stop working, which is simply a huge problem.
Yeah.
And a business case is also, that's a slightly different one, in 2026, every Dutch company with more than 100 employees has to report on their gender pay gap. And we think that's a great start to get our foot in the door, start with step one. And then, of course, once companies see that they have this problem, they will also want to solve it.
Yeah. Okay. And if we go beyond the desk research to the I imagine you had to have practical conversations with people and hearing those stories. What was that like, Anne-Fleur?
Yes, so we had a lot of conversations with HR professionals, also CEOs or hiring managers. And we asked them, do you think there is a gender pay gap within your company? And actually, they said to us, no, we're pretty sure that we don't have it. So we were asking them, did you audit it? How do you know that? And actually, they said, no, but I'm sure we don't have it. So
it's the gut feeling.
It's the gut feeling. And they are against it.
And you want to believe it, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So at that point, we realized how crucial it is to create awareness and also to analyze the gender pay gap with HR. Yeah, so that is something that we really contributed in our business case. Yeah.
And apart from the example you gave, were there any other findings that kind of very surprised you a lot, or challenged what you thought?
We also spoke with the head of HR, and
at Grant Thornton or somewhere else?
Yeah, somewhere else.
Okay,
but also with Grant Thornton. So because we are doing our pilot within our own organization, but we heard that she told us. She had when we go for salary negotiations, it's most likely that women do not negotiate their salary because they're more modest. However, when they do so, it is less likely that they get that higher salary in compared to when a man does the negotiation. So also there is a lot of conscious and unconscious bias, and we all do have them. But if you have the training and be aware about this, unconscious or conscious bias, you can do something about it so you can reduce the gender pay gap.
And I guess when it comes to data, the four of you are a source as well. Do you know what each other earns?
We haven't discussed it actually, but we do have very different jobs. So we have very different jobs, very different ages.
Yeah.
But I think definitely after we leave this room, we all yell it out at the same time.
I'll hold you to that. Off camera, but okay, I'll hold you to that. Again, there is something of a taboo, though, when it comes to sharing, information about money amongst colleagues. Is that something that you found reflected in the research?
There definitely is, because also the gender pay gap is not really tangible. So it's really hard for people to know if it's there or not, because they don't share the salaries with each other. So if you ask a man, what do you earn? And do you know if your feminine colleague earns the same? They do not know. So that makes it really hard for us to tackle this problem, because just a lot about it is just so unknown.
Yeah. You are in the Works Council, though, I understand, at Grant Thornton. So you're dealing with a lot of unknowns, but this seems like a theme that could possibly be discussed at that level? Are you already having those discussions?
We definitely have, and especially since, of course, we all started with this Partnership Academy and we chose this topic, we have put it on the agenda and we're tackling it. Okay. So after we have done our research, we will take those numbers. If there is a gender pay gap, we will make sure that it all becomes more transparent and that it will change within the company.
That's the kind of power the Works Council has.
We do need support, of course, from the board, but indeed, if we get the support, then we definitely have that kind of.
And what about the pay gap at Grant Thornton then?
So we do not know yet if there is a pay gap and how big it is. But based on the numbers and all the research that we did, we saw that most companies who do not actively do something about the gender pay gap have it. So there is a big chance that we have it as well. And if we have it, we, of course, want to do something about it.
You sketched out, Tom, this 3-stage process in the idea. I'd still like to get a sense of what makes this particular idea Paycheck'ed, is what you're calling it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's its USP? What makes it stand out? Why should it be the idea that gets scaled up and be successful compared to a competitor's or someone else's?
We do have unique selling points because Grant Thornton is a large company. We have a lot of records with regards to accountable for data. And the companies out there currently only do one of those 3 things. So they can do an analysis, give you a report to say, good luck with it. Or some companies do give bias trainings or other types of exercise. But that's not related to your problem. You have to ask them, I want a bias training, and then you can do it. So the thing with our Paycheck'ed is we actually go beyond. So when we make it and analyze, we give you a specific advice for things you need to do compared to your specific situation. So every company is unique. That's definitely something I learned working as an accountant. So every company is unique. Not one is the same. So not every solution should be unique. It should be unique. Because if you make an one size fits all, then you get a kind of fast food approach, which doesn't really help. And you want specifics. Yeah. So that's what gives our product a business case.
And would it be you, Grant Thornton itself, doing all the training, or would you be working with partners to do that?
So the current idea is that for the data analyst, the first step, we will be doing that because we, have secured systems in place to ensure the data processing is being validated and sort of. And for the training itself, we want to extend to external partners who specifically train into social skills. So that's what we would like to combine.
Okay. And talking about in-house then, Anne-Fleur, what's the reception within Grant Thornton been like to your idea so far?
Well, they're very open about it and really want to be transparent and also, be a front leader to solve this problem. And if we can do it internally, so practice what you preach, we can also help other companies to reduce the gender pay gap. Or maybe not even reduce it. Maybe we can do the analysis and then they can say, look at us, we don't have that gender pay gap. And you can marketing it as well.
Wow, okay.
But a good realization there is that it sounds very simple. Okay, now we don't have a gender pay gap. Great, everybody's equal and it works. But not having a gender pay gap basically means that for the same functions, you pay people the same wage. It doesn't mean that people that, for example, men, and this often happens at not named companies, but that men get a promotion more quickly. And that is not reflected in a gender pay gap. So you really have to be aware. And I think this is also where our expert role comes in and really differentiates us from other companies offering a gender pay gap scan. Because yes, you might not have a gender pay gap, but that does not mean that you're treating men and women equally. And it might just also not mean that you retain all the talent, because if you see again that your male colleague is getting a promotion while you have been working there for the same time, doing the same job, that's also a reason to leave, go to a different company. Yeah. So we have to be aware about how complex it is. And that's really where we come in.
And do you see potential for this to go ultimately further than just gender? I mean, race bias, religious bias, able-bodied and disabled?
Yeah, definitely.
No, but it is a key element that you can discuss within your organization. So the gender pay gap is just something that starts the discussion about equality, but then you can go way further than women and men. Yeah. And that is actually, I think, a very good opportunity to do for an organization. So gender pay gap, but there is a lot more, and a lot more needs to be done as well.
I think you do talk to a lot of people who, let's say it in the best way, they don't believe sometimes in the science of diversity, so to say. And that can be very difficult. And it helps a lot when we could talk more, because in the end, they start asking questions. And it's about, okay, but how do you know? And of course, there is a whole body of scientific literature that makes clear that it's simply because you are female that you get paid less. But then people say, yeah, but what if they want to be at home for the kids? Or what if the education is not the same? And of course, you can compensate for all these variables. But it takes time for people to have that sink in, because often you don't look at all this research yourself. So you need people to tell you and really explain in detail why this argument doesn't work, why that argument doesn't work.
Okay, so to unlock all the potential, you think, of your idea, which person do you have to kind of lock away in a room and say, yeah, sign this form or whatever? Whose support do you need at Grant Thornton?
So what we did for the partnership Verkiezing, we reached out to Marcel Bleuten several times actually to get his support and told him what we were doing, and he got so enthusiastic seeing our vibe and our flame of enthusiasm. So then it got really that spark, it went on.
Yes.
And he was like, I support this message kind of thing. And he was like, okay, I want you to do this and I will give you access to HR and the data you need so you can actually do the pilot.
Okay, let's complete that with a kind of a call to action. This is now your opportunity, your sales pitch, if you like. Why should everyone at Grant Thornton back this idea, support it, and ultimately scale it up and make it a huge success?
Yeah, so I think we already have this support of all people at Grant Thornton. I think the big call to action is to other companies to realize that if they want to keep the best talent there is and treat all their employees fairly, the first thing to really start doing is to get their paychecked.
Oh, you even have a built-in slogan. This is crazy. This is crazy.
That's our call to action.
Okay, well, listen, I'm on board. So that's one extra vote that you've got. Thank you very much for sharing the idea. I love the solidarity, the spirit behind it, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.